Hello. Passing the offering plate when I was a kid was always really interesting. I usually had some coins that I would put in, and I would ask for money so I could put it in the offering plate. And giving is an essential part of how the church comes together, how we share our resources with one another and combine our resources so that together we can do more than we could do individually. And this is something that the church immediately started doing when it was formed after the resurrection of Jesus. They put all things in common so that they could work together. And so that's what we do. And I remember as a kid doing that, and one time I remember accidentally dumping the offering plate when I was trying a little too hard when I was little, and the money went everywhere and made a lot of noise. There's a joke that sometimes comes along of when the plate comes taking out instead of putting in, and it's funny because that's the temptation, right? And when you're a kid, you might say, well, gee, is this free for the taking? Oh, there's some money, take some. But we know that's not appropriate, because you're not supposed to take from the plate. It's for giving. We're giving to the Lord. It's our sacrifice. A lot of different ways that we have chosen to think about it or chosen to express the donation of our resources to each other, to the group, so that we might fulfill God's purpose as He's called us to make disciples. The offering plate is, of course, something that is part of our Sunday service. Right now, because of COVID, we haven't been passing the plate, and many now give online. And that is our financial pooling of resources. But of course, the church is more than finances. In fact, the finances are probably my least favorite part of the church. They're essential and vital, but we can sometimes get a little focused on them at the exclusion of other vital parts of our giving. The Bible doesn't say to give our money. It says to give our all. So that includes our financial resources, but it also includes our personal resources, our time, our efforts, our heart and affections. These are things that we also should be making part of our offering to one another. And sometimes it's easy to begin to feel like you should take something out of the plate. Now, we would probably never walk up to the offering plate and say, you know what, I need $5 this week, I'm just going to take it. We wouldn't do that. But when it comes to some of the other needs that we may have and the way that we combine our resources, we might feel a little more comfortable taking. I know I have fallen into that before. For instance, if I need some support, it is easy for me to sit back and wait for someone to give some, as opposed to reaching out and proactively seeking it by reaching out to one another. Do you know what? If I need a friend, the quickest way to get one is not to stay home and hope that somebody calls me, hope that someone at church cares enough to reach out, but instead to say, well, hey, I'll put something in the plate and call someone. And most of the time when I reach out and talk to someone, my need gets met too, because now we're combining our resources. But it can be very tempting and very easy for us to be concerned with what we're getting. And in doing so, sometimes we get less because we have held ourselves back and been worried about what's coming out of the plate, not what's going in. And yet, when we reach out to one another, when we invest in one another, then we also are going to share in the blessing of those combined resources. When I feel lonely, it is easy for me to wish a friend would reach out. But I find that the friendship and the caring is no less great if I initiate and care for others, and I usually get that caring right back. In fact, it was interesting as a youth pastor, as I would care for the kids, and of course the kids were not there for my emotional support, and I felt it was inappropriate for me to lean on the kids for my personal needs. And yet, student after student, when I would care for them, would say, now, Ira, if you ever need anything, or if you ever need to talk, because they wanted to care for me because they were being cared for. There was a desire to give. And so even though I would never say, well, I've actually been having some personal problems, let me talk to you because at 15 you can help me. No, that wasn't appropriate. But in these days, between us as adults, boy, when I can reach out and when I can care for others, I find myself cared for as well. Do you put in the plate? Are you not just thinking about giving your financial resources, but even as we might struggle and sacrificially give money, even though we could use it elsewhere, to make sure that we are treating our emotional and time resources in that same way as we combine them with each other and give to each other, and therefore then gain support from each other and work together as a community to care for each other and to reach others who still need to know that God loves them, that God died for them, and that there is a loving community awaiting them if they will trust Jesus and receive the gift of love. I hope that that's a good thought for you today.